Hello everyone, my name is Farhan Ahmed and I'm a lecturer at DSU Sufa University, Karachi. And today we'll be looking at a subject called business communication. We'll be going through the lecture number one, and this lecture number one is only about the introduction to business communication. So we'll look at how we can comprehend the subject. So when we discuss business communication, we have to divide it into two parts. There's one called business, the other one called communication. As we understand that anything that we look around in the world today is a form of a business. If you talk about this board, that is a business. Someone has manufactured it and sold it. You talk about markers is a business. You talk about phone, you talk about chair, you talk about building. Anything, any single thing that we look around ourselves is a form of a business. And of course, businesses need to communicate successfully, effectively, efficiently to survive in the market. So we understand that yes, everything is a form of a business, but when we discuss the communication, that's the major part. We see that the start of communication, especially documented communication, started from what? From the Egyptian Empire in 3300 BC. This is where we find the remnants of writing. They were carved on the stones and different tablets. That's the start of communication. This is the oldest sort of evidence of written documents that we have. So communication has transformed. It has gone through many evolution and changes over the course of last 3,000 years, if you call it 3 to 5,000 years. So we understand, guys, when we discuss communication, how do we define it? A lot of people get mistaken here. They say communication is the exchange of messages. So if I was to say something, if I was to convey a message to you, that's what being termed as communication. They say exchange of idea, that's communication. But that's wrong. If I was to say something to you in a foreign language, for example, if I say, Ak madabar anglit, do you understand what I've said? That's the question. What's the meaning of successful communication here? A successful communication is about exchange of meaning and understanding. So when I say something, you should be able to decode the message. And one of the things that we understand, there should not be any language barrier when we are communicating with each other. That's the first sort of like condition. And the second thing, we should understand it. Apart from decoding or interpreting the meaning of the text or what's been spoken, we want to understand there's also an understanding between the two parties, senders and receivers. So we understand communication is always between two parties. There's sender and there's a receiver. So right now when you guys are watching this lecture, you are the receiver and I'm the sender. I'm sending messages and you guys are catching it. You guys are trying to interpret it. If it is in a different language which you are totally unaware of, if there's in a strange language or a foreign language that you do not understand, this communication process, this communication event will be a failure. So we understand the first condition for successful communication is that exchange of understanding and meaning. The messages should be designed in a way that they don't carry any type of barrier, be it language barrier, be it other forms of barrier. So we understand that. So yes, we understand everything around us is a form of a business. We live in a world where businesses are ruling our lives. There's not a single aspect of our life that's not been impacted by the businesses. And these businesses have to successfully communicate with the audience and different stakeholders to survive, to gain the competitive advantage. So that's what we understand. And in order to understand this communication process, one communication process I have got by D.K. Burlow, known as David Kenneth Burlow, and he gave the model of SMCR. SMCR is about sender, message, channel, receiver, but I have added another element called medium here. So I've added an extra element that is medium, and I'll be telling you why. So we want to understand, guys, if we discuss different forms of media or medium, so in terms of medium, what do we have? If we talk about 1900s, print medium became very popular. With the advent of railway system, railway lines, as you see, Britishers had laid down the railway infrastructure and news started traveling fast. So with the help of the railways, we were able to transport the newspapers from one end to another end, from one destiny to another destiny. And there was an acceleration. News became more accessible, information became more faster, and this was the period 1900s where print media touched its peak. After 1900s, in 1930s, and this is a very astute observation that I'm making right now for you guys, that how the evolution over the last 120 years have taken place, and how do we have such a sophisticated communication infrastructure in modern world in which we live right now. So we understand in 1930s, the broadcasting medium, the radio, became very popular, and we understand Germans used radio as a war weapon in Second World War. So we understand that's the second phase that we are looking at, the evolutionary phase. After 1900, we have got 1930s, where Germans use the radio as the war weapon. So that's the second phase. Then comes 1960s, where we have the third phase of communication, and we see in this phase what happened. TV became popular, and Pakistan had its first television in 1964. So we see there has been a consistent evolution every 30 years, and 1960 onwards, in 1990, in 1990s, what do we have? You're right, internet. Internet was introduced, or it became popular, or it was, civilians had this access to internet by 1990s. So we see there has been a consistent evolution over the past century, and we have come to what era right now? We are in 2020s, and what do we have in 2020s? In internet, something very interesting that we have come up with, that's called artificial intelligence. So we have covered this 100-year journey from the point where we heavily relied on the print media, written documents. Of course, printers were there, and first printer was created by Chinese civilization. It was about in 2 AD, but the popular printer was manufactured in 15th century, and it was by Gutenberg. It was known as Gutenberg press. He was the guy, Gutenberg, German guy, who created printer, and after his name, it is called Gutenberg press. So we see this was the advent of the printing, and largely Bibles were printed all over Europe, and that's one of the most published books all over the world as well. So we understand now, as a business manager, first thing that you want to make sure that yes, you know what are the core function of management: planning, organizing, staffing, leading, controlling. You must have the understanding of skills. You must have conceptual skills, technical skills, and human skills. You must know your roles, and those roles are, of course, interpersonal role, informational role, and decisional role. And you must know the concept of 5 M's, that what are the 5 type of resources that you have at your disposal. And those resources are what? Man, that is human resource; material, that is resources; money, that is capital; method, that is procedure; and machine, that is technology. So we understand a good manager spends 70% of his time in communication process. And if you look at the sender, message, channel, receiver concept here, if I was to just sort of like write down a few things here for you, if I was to sort of like give you an example, if we discuss print media, for example, if anyone has come to your home and a hawker has maybe delivered, just give me 1 second guys, just bear with me, 2 seconds, hang on. Sorry guys, so we just were discussing that we are talking about all the elements that we wanted to identify in the print media, and I was giving you an example that if you are at home and someone delivers a newspaper, and how would you identify all the newspaper and all the elements there. So if a hawker sort of like delivers a newspaper to your home and you have received the newspaper, so sender, in this case, is it hawker that has brought the newspaper? Is he the sender? No. In this case, Sender is the organization. For example, Dawn newspaper, you have received what? Dawn newspaper at your home. So sender will be Dawn newspaper. That's the first thing that you want to understand, that yes, sender is not the hawker, is the Dawn newspaper. The second thing is the message. What's the message? So if we talk about this piece of paper, if I say, assume that this is my newspaper, so any content that is inscribed in it, that is printed on it, be it the news stories, be it the article, features, columns, opinions, adverts, anything that is in this newspaper is a form of a message. Okay, so that's the content that is in the newspaper, that's the message that you receive. And comes channel. What's the channel? How did you get the newspaper? Did it fly to you? No. Channel is the hawker, the source that has brought the newspaper to you. So hawker is the example of what? Channel here. Then comes receiver. Of course, as an audience, I'm the receiver, I have received the newspaper. Now comes what? Medium. And medium is something that I've added from my end here. I just wanted to give you more insight into this process. So in terms of medium, if you talk about this newspaper that I've received, what form is it in? It's in what? Printed form. So this is called print medium, and many a time, some scholars and some books, you'll find the references saying that this is English medium, or Urdu medium, or something else. That's a wrong concept, trust me. So first thing we wanted to understand, that I'm talking to you right now, if I am face-to-face talking to you, when I'm talking, my voice is reaching you with the help of the sound, with the help of the air. So if I'm in one end of the ground, you're in the other end of the ground, and air is blowing against me, I'm shouting my lungs out, you won't be able to hear me. Why? Because nothing is transporting my sound or my sound bite. So air is the sort of like source, is the means by which my voice can travel to you. So that's first. In print medium, we have identified all the elements. Now we want to discuss electronic medium. So if I'm sitting at home and I'm watching TV, for example, this is a TV and I'm watching it, who's the sender there? Is it the anchor who is reading out the newspaper that right now it is heavily raining in Karachi city, the city is submerged, and all the infrastructure has been adversely affected? Anchor is not the sender. Again, it's the organization. Sender will be Dawn TV, it will be PTV, whatever. Excuse me. And when we discuss the message, what will be the message here? Message will be the content that is running on the TV. Be it ads, be it drama shows, be it anything else that's been broadcasted on the TV. That's the message. That comes the channel. How do you receive it? So if I am watching the TV at home, I'm getting the information. How am I getting it? So if TV channels always have, I'll give you the example of Karachi. If you look at the PTV station, TV station, there's a massive antenna on the top of the PTV TV station. So why do they have that? Because this antenna sends waves or beams to the satellite, and those beams are reflected back from the satellite and it is received in certain territory. That's why we say there's no channel that is watched all over Pakistan. In fact, radio is the only network that has the largest reach all over Pakistan. So we understand the channel is the beams or the waves that we received, and that's why we used to have in the old times big antennas on the top of the roof, and we used to get the signals. And once we receive the signals from satellite, we are able to watch TV. And of course, receivers are the audience. We are watching the TV at home, so we are the audience. And then medium. As I said, medium is what? Electronic medium. So we have to differentiate all these things, because in this time and world, if I send a message from this phone to this phone, if I send a PDF file from this phone to my security guard, if I send a sophisticated PDF file to my security guard on this phone to log the company and tell him all the procedure, assuming that he has received my PDF file, he is able to open the PDF file on this phone, and I think that the job is done, that's where the misunderstanding comes into play. That's not a successful communication. The security guard or any attendant won't be able to see your message on this phone because both the technologies are not compatible with each other. And this is where the communication breakdown can take place, and that's what we have been fighting for a very long period of time. That we are not compatible when it comes to the communication process. We are not understanding the compatibility of the communication process. So that's something that's very important. And comes what digital. Digital technology. If I am taking an online class, you guys are at home, I'm calling you, I'm telling you, okay, this is what it is, and blah blah blah. And you guys are watching the PowerPoint on the screen and the material, and my sound bites are also coming. So sender, of course, here in this one, in this medium is me. You as the students are the receiver. Goes without saying. What's the message? Anything that is displayed. If visuals, my visuals are on the screen, that's my message, that's the message. If material is showing up, any PowerPoint is showing up here, that's the message. And of course, channel, apart from my sound bites, so my sound bites, anything displayed on the screen, visuals, Word file, PPT, any material that I have shown, any content that is here is a part of a message. And both written and oral, and that's very interesting. This is what we want to understand now. So we understand medium here is called what? Digital medium. But what's the channel here for the digital media, for all the smart devices, be it if you say there's iPad, there's in the phone, there's a smartwatch. The channel is what? Channel is called internet. The channel is what? Channel is internet. So we understand, guys, that this is what different types of medium that we are dealing with. Of course, we have artificial intelligence, we have something coming called synthetic intelligence. By 2050, we will have new form of communication that's called synthetic intelligence. And I think Australians are working on the synthetic intelligence. That's what I know, the latest. How far it will become available, when it will become available, I don't know. But at this time, artificial intelligence is booming, and we see there are many platforms of artificial intelligence. Okay, so this is the whole process we discussed in this lecture. I just want to summarize that yes, everything that we look around us is a form of a business. Be it mic, be it marker, be it tie, be it suit. Someone has manufactured it and it's been sold in the market. And businesses are surviving. They take competitive advantage from one company to another company with the help of what? Effective and efficient communication. So if there's a successful communication taking place in our company, all the communication events, all the communication efforts, all the communication resources that we have, or the communication infrastructure is working, is viable, then the company will have a competitive advantage for sure. And we discuss in terms of communication, we see in Egyptian Empire we have the oldest remnants or the evidence of writing, and that was on the tablets. The tablets were carved, the rocks were carved. And then we understand that yes, communication itself is an exchange of meaning and understanding. When I'm saying something, you should be able to decode the meaning and understand it. If it is not taking place, that's not communication. So just exchange of message in different languages, just exchange of ideas does not guarantee a successful communication. Then we looked at D.K. Burlew, David Kenneth Burlew models, SMCR model, sender, message, channel, and receiver, in which we have identified how print media from 1990s to turn into electronic media in 1930s and 1960s. Then we went to digital. Of course, that was in 1990s internet. And now in 2020, we have artificial intelligence, and we are moving on. Something very interesting with artificial intelligence, as you are aware, that when companies are competing with each other, they're trying to gain this comparative or competitive advantage. Recently, with the introduction of artificial intelligence by Sam Altman's company ChatGPT OpenAI. So what happened? Like Google sprung into action, and they wanted to compete with OpenAI, and they wanted to come up with their own search engine that was powered by artificial intelligence. So they came up with something called Bard. They introduced something called Bard that was protected by Lambda. And when the lady, the presenter from Google, she was making the presentation, and she searched for a question that which agency sort of like discovered the exoplanet first in the universe. The answer came up with, it was James Webb Telescope, and that was the wrong answer. The exoplanet were first discovered by the European agencies first. That was the correct answer. So when that happened, the Alphabet, the parent company of Google, Alphabet, lost $100 billion in just 1 hour. Such is the level of competition. You can very well imagine what I'm trying to say here, that how companies are competing with each other. So that's the intro of this lecture, that yes, lifeblood, communication is the lifeblood of an organization. Just like my body cannot function without the circulation of blood, similarly, organizations cannot deliver, they cannot function without effective, efficient, successful communication. They have to remove all the obstacles and the barriers of the communication so that the organization can deliver, they can achieve the desired outcome, and they can be productive. So that's what we have discussed. Now in the next lecture, we'll be discussing about different types of communication. So in terms of channel, in terms of style, in terms of level, so that's something we want to do in the next lecture. So thank you so much, guys.